Hello, this is Science for Cycle 3, Week 21, and we are going to continue in our study of probability today. I'm going to remind you again of the two things that I've mentioned in our videos so far. The first one is that our purpose in studying probability for these six weeks is to point our students to the fact that everything that we can observe in the world around us shows us that a creator had to have created everything. The complexity and order in the world around us could not have come about by chance. So our discussion of probability each week should lead us to that conclusion, and we should always be emphasizing that. So along that line, make sure that you are remembering to read, if appropriate for your class, the little excerpts from the Pearls in Paradise that you have in your lesson plan. Again, those are just going to point to some examples in the natural world of the way that God created things in a way that could not have come about by chance. The second thing I'm going to mention again is that we have a huge range of kids and age ranges and abilities, and so please tailor these lessons to what works best for your class, and use what works well and don't use what doesn't work well, and tailor your discussions as well. So this week we are going to be talking about probability in terms of different combinations of objects or items or choices. And so the main discussion you'll be having will be surrounding pizza combinations, pizza toppings. So you'll ask your students if they just walked into a pizza place and just grabbed a box of pizza waiting to be delivered, what's the likelihood that it would be a pepperoni pizza? What's the likelihood that it would be sausage and mushroom, right? What is the likelihood that it would be any different type of combination? And so you can have that discussion on an age appropriate level just talking about that, and then maybe give them a scenario. Say, okay, we're gonna work with just these toppings, and we're gonna try to figure out how many combinations we could make, right? How many one topping pizzas, how many different two topping pizzas could we make? How many different three topping pizzas could we make? And then you can talk through those. So for example, if I said my toppings that are available are pepperoni, sausage, and mushrooms. So I can use my symbols P, S, and M and just talk through all of the different combinations that could be made on a pizza out of those toppings. That's a super simple way to do it. If you have, maybe you have an older class and you want to introduce the idea of, okay, these are all of our toppings, but we also could have 2 or maybe even 3 different types of crust. So we could have thin crust, hand tossed crust, and deep dish. And so what would that do to the number of possible combinations? And so the idea is to get this kind of running list of like all of the different possibilities that can happen. And as you introduce more and more possibilities or categories, the likelihood that you would grab a pizza box off the shelf and it would be exactly the pizza that you have guessed becomes lower and lower. So that's what we're kind of emphasizing. For younger classes, I have some little pizza felt things to play with. So I think I will give these to the 4 younger classes, so then kids can partner up to kind of make their own pizzas. So you can use these in any way you want. There's like the crust, the sauce, the cheese, and then there's little bags full of different toppings that they could put on. So again, you can use those as much or as little as you want if you're in those younger classes to either just kind of fill up time or introduce the idea of what we're doing today. For older classes, if you wanted to have them draw pizzas, there's space in their science journals to draw pizzas. You could bring your own scratch paper and they could draw different pizzas. You could also introduce the idea of ice cream toppings, which again, maybe you have 3 different kinds of ice cream and 4 different toppings, and then maybe 2 different kinds of sprinkles, and talk through those combinations. We are not going to focus at all on the math of figuring out or determining how many combinations can be made. But I did find there's some cool little websites. One was just called Combination Calculator. So if you're in an older class and they wanted to spitball and say like, whoa, what if we had 12 different ice cream flavors and 4 different cones and then 18 different kinds of toppings or something like that, you could use one of those websites to calculate it out, and it would just blow their minds because it becomes so many combinations. So that would be kind of a fun thing that you could maybe use if you have older classes. But that is pretty much what we are doing in our lesson plan today. Again, feel free to tailor that as it works for your class. And again, point them to the fact that that creation around us is even more complex than a pizza. There's so many differences and so much variety in the created world around us. And so the thought that any of it could have come about by chance is so much less likely than us going into a pizza shop and picking the box of pizza, exactly the pizza that we're guessing that we're going to choose. And so again, we're pointing to the fact that a creator is necessary for all of the complexity and order that we see in creation around us. Today, for our little extra time experiment, we are going to have a couple of different things because we are on day 3. So we did light in our first day of creation. We did the atmosphere and made a cloud last week. And this week we're talking about plants. So the first thing that you'll have is you'll have some different celery stalks that will have been soaked in water mixed with food coloring. And then you'll have some celery that was not soaked in, was just in regular water. And so you will be able to have your students just basically observe what happened. And it's really cool. I'm not sure how well you can see it in the video, but it's really cool how you can see kind of there you go, those little holes in celery, which are really observable in this plant, but also exist in all plants, are called xylem. And those holes enable the plant to be able to carry out the process of transpiration, by which they actually pull water up through their roots into the plant and all the way up to the leaves. And then water vapor actually does escape from the leaves as well, or is given off from the leaves. But that's how water and nutrients gets all over a plant. But it's really observable in the celery. So you can talk about how that celery began to kind of draw up that water that had food coloring in it. And you can even see the leaves are kind of a bluish color. It might be kind of hard to observe, but you can talk about that. And then you'll also have just some beans that have been germinating and have been growing. And so you can, I'll have enough so that your class can kind of look at them and pick them apart. We do that again in cycle 1, but it's always kind of fun to see things that have started to come out of a seed and to see how cool it looks. And again, this is all to point them to the fact that our Creator created everything in such an amazing and beautiful way, and that we can be thankful for all of the order and complexity that He put into our world. And that is it. Thank you.